I was working and doing 9 to 5 shit, I was advancing and moving up very fast. Like I always thought, whatever I choose to do, I'm going to be successful in. But I didn't know which way that would manifest.
Okay.
So while working a 9 to 5, like, what other things were you into? Like, were you working and writing poetry and rapping and trying to elevate yourself? Like,
Man, not necessarily. For a while I was just working. Like I used to work 14, 15, 16, now 12, so
Yeah.
I was really just locked in on working, and the time I wasn't working I'd make songs every now and then, but I was also just bullshitting, like fucking bullshitting, right? So I wasn't even hyper focused on a career. I was just trying to, at that point I was just trying to make money. Like that was my thing. Like, nigga, I got money.
Money,
You
yeah,
feel me?
it's trying to tell you, get that bag, huh?
Go get that bag.
Oh, V.
what made you like stop working and doing everything you were doing and just focus on your career and just go full fledged?
Man, that unfulfillment. I released a project while I was working, and the response was really dope. The response was so dope, people at work start like talking to me about it, like, and then I end up doing a show. I did my first show ever while I was working, and that shit was like successful, right? And I just kind of kept going, and I ended up doing a second show, and it was more successful. And I remember going back to work the day after I did that show, and I was just like, this ain't it. Like, bro, like I'm, like everybody I was meeting was like, bro, you're a star. This shit is crazy. This is great. But it was like, I'm clocking in, and I was just doing subpar work. I was just unfulfilled. And I got to a point in my field where I was so good at what I did that I was burning time. You feel me? Like I'd get my tasks done, and then the rest of the time, like I used to use the time to like improve my business. I was working on hella business shit, but it got to a point where I was just like sitting, because it was just like, bro, I couldn't do any more business from there. I needed to be home in the studio and, really working on my shit. So it just got to a point where I really, assessed. I started reading a bit more, and I forgot what I read, but someone was like, how can you give someone 8 hours of your day and come home and give yourself 1 or 2?
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, that's where you're going to grow. And I had to flip that shit. Like, I'm like, bro, if I'm going to give anybody 8 hours, I'd rather
Shifted
give that
your
shit
mind.
to me.
Shifted your mind.
Hell yeah.
What were your most impactful books?
Man, Inner Engineering by Sad Guru. The first thing I had read after a long time was called The Freedom Simplified. This lady who used to work with me, her name was Rita. She was from Singapore. She had very broken English, and people used to kind of just talk to her like she wasn't as intelligent as she was, and I used to just chop it up with her, and she really put me on game, and she gave me this little pamphlet called Freedom Simplified. It was a quick read, and I haven't read in years, but it was like, it's a lot of Buddhist texts and principles, and it just made life, like, after I read that shit, I was like, I went on Amazon and bought hella books, nigga, like hella books, right? And from there, man, I just got into, I started reading a lot of shit by like Indian mystics, like Swami and Sadhguru, and I started reading a lot of Middle Eastern texts, because they just speak life. Like the way they write books is so different from our authors. And I got into Eckhart Tolle, of course, A New Earth and Power Now, and I start consuming better things. You feel me? And naturally, you consume better shit, you become a better person.
Yeah, I feel like. Speaking of consuming, how do you feel like social media and shit is now, bro? Like, how is the impact on everybody now? How like consuming? Like, do you think what it is that you watch, what it is that you read, do you really think that affects, somebody's thought process?
Nigga, of course.
Yeah.
You ever used to listen to Plies when you was younger? I know a nigga who had Goon tattooed on his arm, bro.
Damn.
We don't even say Goon in the Bay. You feel me? Like, that's all from the music. Like, niggas used to, you become the things that you consume. That's what you embody for certain, nigga. Like, a lot of kids, like, we start cursing. Why? Because our parents do, or we hear it on the radio or see it on TV. Like, naturally, everything you consume becomes a part of you. Social media, I think, is one of the greatest tools to ever exist in mankind. Like, there's no longer a gatekeeper. You feel me? Like, bro, record labels used to be able to hinder artists because they didn't look a certain way. They didn't look how they wanted them to look. So they was able to stop your motion. There was times some of these artists that exist today, they would have never got a shot because it was up to a white person to determine if they looked right or had the right appeal. But now it's like, bro, that shit don't matter.
Matter.
This nigga Chief Keef blew up from his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh, on house arrest from the crib. Like he was a lot of the shit you see today, bro. Like nigga Chief Keef was the first nigga I seen in the fucking living room with all the guns in the video. Like he invented that whole wave.
Yeah, the wave,
you
yeah,
feel
me
me?
too,
But
yeah.
like social media it took all the barriers away. Now it's like whoever does the work is who's gonna win. It ain't no it ain't no relying on nobody. You can't say cause I ain't gotta cause I nigga the only reason you don't make it today is because you didn't do the work.
Work.
Yeah.
That's
Put
it.
in the work for yourself.